Hey guys, tonight we're headed somewhere far from the usual bedtime history scroll. Picture this: the sun dipping low behind a curtain of towering baobab trees, their silhouettes stretching long and ancient across the dusty earth. The sky pulses, orange, then purple, then black, and as stars wink awake above you, a quiet drumbeat begins. You're walking, not through a museum or dusty archive, but into a living moment, the kind of moment people have whispered about for centuries. You're not alone, at least, not entirely. A few villagers move past you silently, dressed in patterned cloth and carrying bundles. One little boy gives you a sideways glance, then disappears behind a low hut. You hear something, soft at first. Bells? Maybe wind? Chimes? No, it's a rattle. Deliberate, measured, like bones shaking inside a hollow gourd. Welcome to the night of masks. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, post your location and local time below. I'd love to know who's drifting off with me tonight. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step through the thickening night, pulled by flickers of firelight and the unmistakable scent of burning herbs. Your feet crunch softly against dry earth. The air smells like clay and something sharper, pungent, ritualistic, ancient. In the center of the village clearing, they've lit a wide ceremonial fire. Around it, men and women sit in a loose circle, quiet, expectant. You spot the mask before. You see the person wearing it. It's huge, easily the size of a grown man's torso, and carved from wood so dark it swallows light. The eyes are hollow, oval-shaped, and somehow watching. The mouth is a sharp, toothless slit, neither smiling nor frowning. Painted in streaks of white and ochre, the whole thing seems to vibrate with its own breathless power. You can't help but stare. It doesn't blink, doesn't move, and yet you feel undeniably seen. A slow, steady beat picks up. Drums, sure, but not just that. There's a clinking too. Maybe shells tied to ankles. Maybe the bones of a goat strung together in some sacred formation. One masked figure rises, and the crowd leans forward. It begins with a step. The dancer doesn't speak. Instead, the mask speaks for them. The way it tilts with each movement seems to change its mood. Now contemplative, now furious, now somewhere between trance and triumph. You realize no one else is making a sound. Every breath of the audience is held, and in that silence, you understand. This mask isn't just costume. It isn't theatre. It's not even art. This is presence. This is invocation. And you are a guest at the threshold between the visible and the invisible. Historians still argue whether the earliest African masks were meant to depict gods, spirits, or ancestors. But here, in the firelight, you suspect the answer is yes. Idea of wearing another face to channel unseen forces is older than written language. Across the continent, masks served as messengers between realms. In this part of West Africa, the mask might represent a revered ancestor, but move just a few hundred miles and its function shifts. It might embody a rain spirit, or the soul of a panther. The meaning changes, but the reverence doesn't. You glance around. No one meets your gaze. They're focused on the figure, and maybe that's for the best. You have the feeling you're not entirely here, not in the usual sense. In one version of this tradition you've heard, the person beneath the mask becomes invisible. Their name, their face, their status, gone. For the duration of the dance, they are no longer who they were. They are it, the spirit, the message, the memory. It's said that some wearers don't remember the performance afterward. You wonder if you would. One elderly man leans toward you and whispers, almost conspiratorially, "This mask hasn't danced since my father's time." His eyes twinkle with equal parts reverence and mischief. They say it brings dreams. Then he leans back, as though he hasn't spoken at all. You blink. The mask is now still again. The dancer kneels, then lowers their head. A small boy places a calabash bowl before them, filled with something milky white. The mask tilts as if acknowledging it, and for a moment, the crowd exhales. Someone nearby starts humming. A low, circular tune, barely a melody. You can't tell who. And suddenly, the mask doesn't seem finished. It seems patient. You wonder what it's waiting for. Then again, so are you. The hum never quite fades. It lingers in the back of your mind as the crowd disperses slowly. Reverently, you stay seated. The fire burns lower now, casting long shadows that flicker like silent dancers against the village walls. You keep watching the mask. It hasn't moved since the ritual ended, but something about it refuses to be still. The dancer, still cloaked and crouched, breathes softly beneath the carved wood. You can't see their face. You shouldn't want to. In this place, to look under the mask would be like peeking beneath a coffin lid. Not forbidden, exactly, but deeply, viscerally wrong. You recall an anthropologist's account once, the sort of detail that surfaces at odd moments. He noted that in certain tribes the masks are not seen as objects, but persons. When not worn, they are kept in secluded shrines, sometimes given food, sometimes spoken to. A wooden face with hunger, memory, and moods. Historians still argue whether these customs imply belief or metaphor. You no longer care. A small girl skips past you, barefoot, her hair in tight braids. She pauses beside the mask, offers it a single red flower from behind her ear, and says something so quietly you can't make it out. Then she skips off again, vanishing between the mud brick. Home's like a dream evaporating at dawn. The silence grows rich. A wind picks up, dry, spicy, and whispering. It moves the fire smoke sideways, right toward you, curling with tendrils like hands. You think of something ridiculous. What if the mask remembers everyone who's ever worn it? What if it's remembering you now? Someone hands you a carved cup, warm, smooth, filled with a liquid that smells like honey and bark. You sip without asking. The taste is earthy and bitter, but not unpleasant. A drink for grounding, or maybe forgetting. In the flickering firelight, the mask's shadow on the ground begins to stretch. No, elongate. It seems to be reaching toward yours. You shake your head, probably the smoke, or the drink, or both. Still, you draw your legs in just a little, just in case. The old man who spoke earlier now sits beside you. You know, he murmurs. The mask only dances when the ancestors are restless. He chuckles. Either something's wrong, or something's about to begin. You glance at him, but he's already closed his eyes, as if dreaming with his eyes open. Later, you're invited into one of the huts. Low ceiling, packed earth floor, and the smell of smoke-soaked thatch. A woman, middle-aged and kind-eyed, hands you a small bundle wrapped in linen. It's a charm, she explains, for protection or remembering. It depends. You don't ask what's inside. You just tuck it into your bag and nod like someone who understands the rules, even if you don't yet know the language. Inside the hut, the walls are adorned with drawings, chalky white and ochre lines of figures wearing exaggerated faces. Each one is different. Some elongated and insect-like, some squat and grinning, others with horns or spiraled eyes. You recognize a few from museums, but these are somehow more alive, fresher, not relics. Residents. Each mask has a name, the woman says, reading your thoughts. But they don't tell it to just anyone. Sometimes, not even to the dancer. You ask her how a mask is chosen. It chooses you, she replies. Some believe, you recall, that the wood used to make masks must be taken from trees struck by lightning. Others say the best masks are carved from wood that grew in silence, meaning trees untouched by birdsong or human footsteps. Historians still argue whether that's literal or poetic, but here it sounds entirely reasonable. You ask how old the mask is. She shrugs. Older than the memory of its shape. And that, she smiles faintly, is the right age for a mask. Later that night, as you lie under a mosquito net and try to sleep, you hear something faint, a rustling, a dragging sound, like cloth brushing against clay. Then the softest possible knock on the outside of your hut. Not urgent, not threatening, just waiting. You don't move. You barely breathe. Then it's gone. When you wake, the bundle is gone from your bag. Only the flower remains. Dawn creeps in like a shy guest. The sky lightens to a dusty pink, and the village stirs with the soft sounds of sweeping, hushed greetings and the crackle of morning fires. You sit outside the hut, still wrapped in your woven blanket, the flower, now slightly wilted, cradled gently in your palm. No one speaks of the bundle. You could ask, of course, but here, direct questions sometimes come across like stones thrown into still water. Better to wait for the ripples. Today, they say, you'll visit the carvers. You follow a young boy, no older than 10, through a narrow path that winds between tall dry grasses and sun-baked shrubs. He doesn't talk, but he walks with purpose, the kind only children and spirits seem to have. Eventually, you reach a shaded grove where 4 men sit cross-legged around a fallen tree trunk, chipping away at blocks of wood. The tools are simple, chisels, knives, and stones, but the results are not. Half-formed faces stare up at you from the ground, some serene, others wild-eyed, one with a crooked smile that feels too knowing. The lead carver, a man with deep lines etched across his face, gestures for you to sit. You want to know what makes a mask, he says without looking up, but you won't understand until one sees you. He chips a sliver of wood with a flick of his wrist. We don't carve the mask. We uncover it. The spirit's already inside the tree. You blink. Historians still argue whether that's animism or art, he chuckles. But what do they know of whispers in the bark? He tells you that masks are not symbols. They're vessels. They allow spirits to walk, to see, to speak. But only for a while, he warns. The living cannot wear the face of the dead for too long. You ask him if he's ever worn one. He shakes his head. I carve, others carry. You look around and notice something. Not one of the carvers has a single mask on display in their homes. They birth them, but never claim them. You think of midwives, guiding something sacred into the world, only to step aside once it breathes. One of the younger men sets aside his half-finished mask and begins polishing an older one. It's dark and worn, the wood smoothed by time and fingers. You lean closer and notice faint etchings along the jawline, tiny glyphs or names, perhaps. Those are memories, he says quietly, not yours to read. The boy who guided you here picks up a splintered mask from a corner. It's cracked down the middle, but its eyes remain intact. Deep wells of shadow in the daylight. He holds it up, aligning it with his own face. For a heartbeat, the wind stills. Then he lowers it. Some masks break themselves, he whispers. Later, you're led into a storage hut. Cool, dark, and lined with shelves stacked high with cloth-covered forms. The air smells of old incense, cedar, and dried herbs. One mask lies uncovered, resting atop a woven mat. It's unlike the others. Its surface is painted in swirling lines of ochre and white, with 2 raised ridges above the brows like horns. This one, the carver says, hasn't been danced in generations. No one's been brave enough. You ask why. It watches back, he answers simply. You try not to look too long, but you do, and for a moment, you could swear the ridges rise just slightly higher. As though breathing, a rooster crows outside, jarring you from the trance. You leave the hut with your mind full of wooden eyes and silent names. That evening, back at the village, an elder woman shows you a bundle of painted stones. each one etched with a mask's outline. When we lose a mask, she explains, we keep its name here. She hands you one, blank and smooth. Keep it close, she says, in case something follows. You're not sure whether she's joking. Night falls again, deeper and thicker than before. The sky is ink black, moonless, but alive with stars that twinkle like scattered embers. You lie awake, the stone tucked beneath your mat, its cool weight grounding you. You tell yourself it's only a token, a charm, but still, you haven't let it go since the elder gave it to you. Outside, the drums begin, soft, steady, distant. They echo from somewhere beyond the trees, too far to see, too close to ignore. You sit up slowly. You weren't told of any ceremony tonight. The village is quiet. Doors are shut, fires snuffed. Even the dogs are silent. You rise, barefoot, and follow the rhythm. It pulls you like a current, steady, patient, unwavering. You move through the brush until you find a clearing lit by fireflies and embers. In the center, 6 figures dance in a slow spiral, each one wearing a different mask. The masks glow faintly, as if lit from within. They turn their heads not toward you, but to the space beside you. You try not to flinch. They move in unison, feet brushing the earth, arms outstretched as though holding invisible threads. One of them wears the crooked smile mask. Another wears the one with horned ridges. Their silence is louder than the drums. You step forward, and the music stops. They freeze. Then as one, they tilt their heads. Not at you, but slightly to your left, as if someone unseen has stepped from the shadows. You don't turn. You don't breathe. A voice, barely louder than the wind, whispers, "You shouldn't be here." You blink. The clearing is empty. No fireflies, no dancers. Only ashes on the ground and a faint hum of something not quite silence. You return to the village at dawn. No one mentions the music. You approach the carvers. They're quiet today, their hands idle. You ask about the spiral dance. There are no dancers in the dark, one says. You tell them what you saw. They shake their heads. Some spirits don't need an invitation, the elder carver murmurs. They only need a witness. You realize then that no one wears the horned mask because no one ever made it. It was never carved. It was found. Historians still argue whether some masks came from the living, the carver says, or if the dead carved themselves into being. He presses something into your palm, a splinter of wood, dark and old. Keep this, he says. If it cracks, leave. Later that afternoon, the boy leads you to the shrine, a low structure made of stone and earth, hidden in a grove where the light barely touches. Inside are offerings, feathers, beads, teeth, and masks. Dozens of them. None of them face forward. They rest, the boy whispers, until someone puts them on. You ask if anyone ever puts on more than one. He stares at you. No one comes back from that. At sunset, a woman approaches you, face painted with ash and ochre. She speaks in a language you don't know, but somehow understand. She places her hands on your head and murmurs something ancient and brittle. Then she hands you a mask, not to wear, but to hold. It is blank, smooth, weightless. Make your own, she says. You start to ask how, but she is already gone. Back at your hut, you sit in silence, staring into the hollow eyes of the unfinished mask. You wonder what kind of spirit waits inside you, what face it might want to wear. Outside, the wind rises. The drums begin again. By now, the villagers stop asking why you linger. You've become part of the background, like the distant hills, or the river that always returns. But you're not settled. Not really. You keep thinking of that blank mask, and the feeling it left. In your hands. Not cold, not warm, just expectant. Tonight, the wind carries smoke that doesn't belong to any hearth. It's thinner, tinged with something metallic. You follow it without meaning to. feet tracing a path your mind hasn't agreed to. The trees part like they're tired of hiding things, and you come upon another carving circle. But this one's wrong. The tools are rusted, the wood is splintered, and in the center lies a mask cracked in half. Not broken by time, broken deliberately. As you kneel to examine it, a voice rasps from behind, dry as the dust. Some masks shouldn't be fixed. You spin. No one's there. A breeze flits through the clearing, lifting flakes of ash from the broken mask. You catch a glimpse of what was painted on it. A spiral, tight and black, like a whirlpool sucking memory inward. You touch the edge. Your fingertips come away wet. It hasn't rained in weeks. You return to the carver's hut, holding the broken mask. The elder takes one look and shakes his head. That one came from the forest. You ask who made it. No one. You ask who wore it. Everyone. Once. He won't say more. But the boy, the same one from the shrine, pulls you aside later. He draws a symbol in the dirt. It looks like the mask's spiral. They say the spiral mask doesn't copy a spirit. It summons one. You ask what it summons. He hesitates. What's missing? Back in your hut, you lay the blank mask beside the broken one. Night falls thick and without stars. You don't light a fire. You just sit. And that's when the voices begin. Not whispers, not threats, not words, just breath. Long, slow inhales that never become exhales. They grow louder as the mask stares back at you. Blank and patient. You cover it. The sound stops. You uncover it. Silence. Then, from outside your door, one knock. You wait. Another knock. You open it. No one there. Only a single feather, black and gold, resting on the threshold. You pick it up and feel the tiniest pulse run through it. Historians still argue whether mask ceremonies were meant to honor ancestors or to contain them, you recall. You turn the feather over. On the spine, faint carvings, letters, a map. You bring it to the carver. He stares at it for a long time before placing it in a bowl of water. The feather doesn't float. It sinks, like a stone. He nods once. You've been chosen. For what? To remember. That night, you sleep with the broken mask at your side and dream of nothing but eyes. Hundreds of them, painted in red and white, watching from behind hollow slits. When you wake, your hands are stained with ochre. You didn't paint anything, but the blank mask now has a spiral drawn on its forehead. It's not your handwriting. You keep the mask in a box now, wooden, latched, wrapped in cloth, then in more cloth, then tucked beneath your sleeping mat, as if distance and darkness might muffle whatever it remembers, but it doesn't forget. Some mornings, you wake to find the latch undone. Other days, the cloths are slightly shifted. You tell yourself it's just movement, wind, vibration, maybe a rat, but the night always remembers what the day tries to erase. Today, you decide to return it. You walk back into the forest with the box, hoping to place it at the shrine and be done with it. The trail feels longer this time. The trees lean in at odd angles. The breeze whispers in vowels only half spoken. The shrine is there, but it's changed. The idols are missing their eyes. Each mask is cracked along the same axis, from temple to jaw. In the center stands a new figure, taller, leaner, carved of darker wood. It holds nothing, but its hands are shaped to grip a mask. Yours. You unwrap the box. The mask inside is no longer blank. The spiral remains, but now the eyes are painted red. Not bright red, brick red. Dried blood red. You turn to leave, but something shifts in the clearing. Not wind, not shadow. A figure stands just inside the tree line, small, child-sized, wearing a mask. You call out. No answer. It tilts its head. You blink, and it's gone. Back at the village, you describe the figure to the carver. He looks tired, older somehow. There are stories, he murmurs, of masks that grew too hungry. They needed faces, any face, to keep their shape. He tells you to burn it. You ask if that would stop it. He says nothing. You ask if anyone's tried before. He nods, slowly. And they didn't get to the fire. That night, you lock the door, you place salt at the windows. You light a candle, but the candle won't stay lit. You strike the match again. Flicker, gone, again, gone. Then you see it, the feather. It's on your pillow. It shouldn't be. You never brought it inside. The feather twitches once, like it's breathing. Morning feels thinner now, not lighter, just weaker, like a fraying cloth barely stretched across the sky. The sun rises, but there's no warmth. Birds call, but it sounds like mimicry. Everything familiar starts to feel rehearsed, like a village pretending not to be watched. You don't speak of the dreams, not to the carver, not to the children, but someone always knows. The baker leaves bread by your door without a word. The healer sends a sachet of herbs she doesn't name. And one morning, a child points to your face and asks why you're wearing that other mask. You ask what she means. She shrugs. The shadow one, that keeps flickering. That night, you decide to visit the elder. Not the chief, but the old woman everyone avoids, Nyoka, who lives at the edge of the forest, with charms hung like dead fruit from her doorway. Nyoka doesn't ask why you've come. She stares at your chest before you even speak. You carried something that remembers too well, she says, voice rough as gravel. You try to hand her the mask, but she recoils. I don't want it, she snaps. I want you to understand it. She tells you of the Bula, not a god, not a demon, a masked spirit, born from forgotten grief and kept alive by repetition. They were used to remember the dead. Then they were worn too often, too long, until the dead looked back. She pours water into a bowl and places the mask beside it. Watch. The water ripples, not with wind, not with breath, with rhythm, a heartbeat. And in the reflection, you don't see yourself. You see a stranger's eyes behind your own. They blink when you don't. Nyoka lifts the mask and places it face down into the bowl. The ripples stop. Steam rises from the wood. Not heat. Cold. She doesn't speak again, just leaves the room. You're left alone with the water and the silence and the rising scent of soil after rain. You take the mask back home. Not because you want to, because it doesn't want to stay. That night, you place it beneath the mat again. You light 4 candles in the 4 corners. You whisper the names of those you've lost. The wind answers with names you never knew. And then, tapping from inside the box. Not loud, not desperate, just patient, as if knocking, as if waiting. You open it. It's empty. You turn, and the mirror across the room shows the mask, floating behind you. You spin around. Gone. The box is closed again. The latch clicks. You didn't touch it. You reach for the box, but it's already open. The mask is gone. You check under the bed, the door, the mat. Nothing. Then, from behind you, a slow inhale. No exhale. You turn, expecting nothing. You find the mask, hanging in midair. No strings, no hands, just hovering. And then it drops, flat on the floor. But you swear you saw it blink. Before falling, you don't sleep that night. But the dreams come anyway. You see the same village, but wrong. The huts are twisted. The river runs black. The sky is teeth. Everyone wears a mask. Everyone but you, and they turn one by one toward you, mask by mask, and begin to hum. Low, dissonant, it vibrates your bones. You wake up in sweat. The candle's melted to nothing. The mask is back in its box, closed, latched. But there's ash on your floor, tiny footprints in the soot. You don't scream. That part of you is quieter now. Instead, you sit. You sit in the darkness with the closed box in front of you and the mirror angled just slightly, showing the corner where nothing should be, but sometimes is. The mask has started moving on its own. Not visibly, you never see it shift. But when you place it on the left shelf, you later find it on the right. If you hang it above the hearth, it ends up under your bed. Always somewhere close. Never where you left. You tell yourself it's stress. Fatigue. The village whispers too much of shadows, and you've inhaled too many of them. Still, every time the candle gutters low, you hear something soft. Breathing that isn't yours. You spend the next day in the archives, housed in the hollowed-out trunk of a colossal baobab, tended by scribes, with ink-stained thumbs and silence stitched into their habits. You ask for any mention of spirit masks used in funeral rites. They glance at each other, then bring out a scroll wrapped in snakeskin. It's older than the village itself, text faded, symbols hand-etched, not inked. The scroll speaks of the ikoji, a mask believed to anchor the soul of someone who died suddenly, especially those who were angry, forgotten, or betrayed. Villagers once carved it in times of drought, war, or plague, to give shape to loss too big for burial. But over time, the ikoji stopped serving the living and began hunting the truth of their own deaths. Some believe the spirits never left the wood, the scribe mutters, that they wait in silence, listening, that wearing the mask is not pretending to be them. It is letting them pretend to be you. You ask how to break the bond. He doesn't answer. He just nods toward the forest again. It's always the forest. That night, you dream of an old lighthouse. Stones sunk in cliffside, waves gnashing below. The door opens for you. No key, no creak. Inside, empty chairs. Dozens, all facing the same direction, each one cradling a mask, not hung, sat, as if each mask once had a body and left only the face behind. They all stare at a spiral staircase rising into shadow, and at the top, a bell. It begins to ring, softly at first, then faster, then faster. Each mask vibrates, their hollow eye holes widen. You realize they are not looking at the bell. They're waiting to be called. And when the rope tugs, they vanish, upward, soaring, up the stairwell like smoke. You wake up gasping. The box is open. The mask is in your lap. You didn't put it there. You try to hurl it into the fire, but the flames recoil. They shrink away from it like it's ice. You reach for tongs. You stab at the embers. You try to bury it. And yet the next morning, it's on your face. You didn't put it on. You didn't even feel it happen. It fits better than skin. You don't take the mask off. At first, you try. Fingers clumsy in their urgency, scraping at the edges, your nails slipping on a surface that feels like aged lacquer, but also warm, like breath. But there are no straps, no clasps, no ties. Just a seamless seal along your face, as if the mask was never a mask at all, but something that grew from within you. You rush to the mirror and stare. What looks back is not you. It wears your clothes, mimics your posture, but the eyes are wrong, black, deep, almost shimmering. The mouth beneath the carved wood does not move, yet somehow you can still speak. You say your name, and it echoes dully, as if from inside a closed room. The villagers begin to avoid you. They nod, politely, but never meet your gaze. Children cross the street. Even the dogs do not bark. And the smith, the one who once offered warm bread in the morning, now locks his door when he sees you pass. You try to explain. You plead. You beg. But your voice doesn't always come out as your own. Sometimes it's higher. Sometimes it's whispering, even when your lips stay still. One evening, your voice says something in a language you do not understand, and your reflection nods in agreement. You flee to the only place left, the lighthouse, the real one, not the one in your dreams. It stands alone on the western cliffside, long abandoned, its windows eyeless. Its stairs crumbled. But it calls you now, not in words but in a rhythm, like the ring of a distant bell. Inside everything is dust, cobwebs heavy like curtains. Salt crusts the stones, and gulls cry somewhere above, angry that you've returned. You ascend. Each step moans underfoot. The spiral is tight, narrow, coiled like a secret. And with every turn, the light outside fades. Soon, you are walking, by the feel of stone alone, hand dragging along the curved wall, the mask clinging like heat to your skin. And then, you hear it again. The bell. Not loud, not metallic, but soft and hollow, like a child tapping on the inside of a drum. It pulses, and with each pulse, something inside your head answers. You don't know how long you climb. Time folds in the tower. Minutes stretch. Hours collapse. But eventually, you reach the top. There is no lantern. There is no flame. Just a chamber full of masks. They line the walls. They hang from the beams. They are laid out in gentle spirals on the wooden floor, all facing a center that is empty, waiting. And in that center, a mirror, not reflective, black liquid. You see yourself in it, not as you are now, but as you were before. Eyes human, skin unmarred, fearful, and standing beside you in the reflection, a figure wearing the mask, your mask. It reaches out. You feel your own hand lift in response. The air thickens. The masks begin to hum. Some believe the lighthouse was never built for ships, but for spirits. A tower not of guidance, but of containment. The bell, a call not to warn sailors, but to summon the forgotten, the unmourned, the masked. You kneel. You press your palm to the mirror. It is warm. Your reflection smiles. And then everything turns to black. You awaken lying flat on the cold stone floor. The light from the sea filters in through the cracked slats of the lighthouse's wooden tower. Dust drifts in shafts like suspended memories. The mirror is gone, or perhaps it was never there. Around you, the masks remain, but they no longer face inward. Each one now points towards you, their carved mouths agape, eyes empty, but watching. They do not blink. They do not breathe. And yet, you feel the pressure of their attention, ancient, quiet, unmovable. You rise slowly, your joints creaking as though you've aged a century. Your hand finds your face again. The mask is still there. Only, now it has changed. Its features are more like yours than before. A blend, as if it has grown into you, reshaped itself with your thoughts, your dreams, your secrets. Where once it felt alien, now it feels inevitable. You descend the spiral staircase. This time, you do not stumble. This time, the tower does not moan. The path out of the lighthouse seems shorter now. The door swings open on its own. Outside, the sea is calm. The air is thick with salt and something else, something sweet and sour, like turned honey. The village is waiting. You walk into the square. Everyone is masked, not in celebration, not in ceremony, just standing, watching. Their masks are not like yours. Some are crude and flat, painted in thick strokes of ochre and soot. Others are smooth and ornate, shimmering in the sun with tiny inlaid stones. None speak, none move. Then one tilts their head, and another. A wave of motion like reeds bowing to unseen water. You do not speak. Instead, you raise your hand, and they kneel. All of them, in unison. Even the children, even the animals. You do not know what you've become. A messenger? A god? A warning? Some historians say that certain African tribal societies believed masks did not just represent spirits, but became them. That once worn, the mask didn't merely hide the face, it revealed the soul beneath. A dangerous truth, whispered only in old stories, that some masks never came off because they had nothing left to cover. You walk among them. You do not recognize the faces behind the masks, but they seem to recognize you. Someone holds out a bowl. You take it, and inside is a paste the color of ash and crushed marigolds. You do not ask what it is. You do not need to. You eat, and with every bite, your memories blur. Not vanish, just soften. The way the edges of dreams crumble in the sun. You are no longer certain of your name or whether you had one. You remember rain once, a mother's voice, the smell of smoke. But even those things feel borrowed. Now there is only the mask and the bell. Yes, the bell still rings. Not from the lighthouse, from you, it rings inside. Your bones, a slow, soft chime every time you breathe. You look down at your shadow. It doesn't match your movement anymore. It lags, just slightly, a beat behind, and then, one day, it doesn't follow you at all. Some believe the masks were never carved. They were found, dug from the earth like fossils, remnants of something, older than memory, older than man. They say the wood is not from any known tree, that it smells like cold breath, that it sings if left under the moon. You do not remember how long you have stayed. Time again folds around you. The village never changes. The sea never rises. The bell never stops, and neither do you. The days, or what you now accept as the passage of time, bleed into one another. You no longer count them. Instead, you observe patterns. The way shadows shift through the mask holes as light moves. The way the masked villagers gather and disperse, always silently, always purposefully. You learn their movements, their cues, though no one teaches them to you. It's as though the mask does the learning for you, as though it's teaching you. You begin to understand, without needing words, when to move, when to stop, when to kneel. There is a rhythm beneath the silence, deep, like a heartbeat in the earth. One night, the villagers circle around a fire made of stones that never blacken, flames that never consume. They gesture, and you step forward. The mask on your face tightens, not painfully, firmly, like armor. They bring out the new one. It is a child, no older than 5, wide-eyed, bare-faced. You reach for the mask they hand you, small, delicate, painted with the yellow of river reeds, and you bend toward the child. She does not cry. Her eyes do not plead. She only nods, as though she's been waiting all her short life for this moment. When you tie the mask to her face, she shudders, and then she bows. Another joins the circle. The old become shadows. The young become bearers. This is the way. Anthropologists once debated the origin of mask succession rituals among certain African tribes, whether the rites passed on spiritual lineage or simply enforced communal control. Some argued that masks were tools of liberation, others that they were methods of indoctrination. None could agree, none could prove, because those who stayed long enough to truly know never left. You begin to feel the weight of centuries beneath your skin. One morning, if it was morning, you wake to find your fingers have stiffened, not from cold, from wood. You touch your wrist, the grain runs beneath the flesh. You are no longer wearing the mask. You are the mask. You understand now what the lighthouse was, a beacon, not for sailors, for them. A signal that a vessel was ready, that a shape was prepared to hold something unspeakably old. And now the signal has passed. The lighthouse no longer rings. You do. Your steps echo with a hollow timber. The villagers do not bow anymore. They part, and you pass through them, to the edge of the forest, the same one from before. Only now, it is quiet. No wind, no insects. Even the leaves seem to lean away. You walk deeper. The mask sharpens your vision. Every tree is familiar, every path remembered. And at the center, a hollow mound of stone, carved with symbols you cannot read but instinctively know. You kneel before, It. Place your hands on the cool surface. The ground trembles. You whisper something, a name, a plea, a command. You don't know. The sound was not yours. From within the mound, a light pulses, pale green, like moss under moonlight. You place your face to the opening. It accepts you. Inside, it is endless. And the last thing you see before descending into the dark is your reflection. Only, it's not your face anymore. It's the child's. She smiles, and the bell tolls once more. Not from above, from below. Some scholars say certain African burial sites were found with masks placed over the face, not to honor the dead, but to trap what might escape. That in some cultures, it wasn't the corpse they feared, but the echo it left behind. And the mask wasn't for the spirit, it was for the next one. The descent is slower than you expect. Not because of resistance, no walls close in around you, but because time stops behaving. You move downward, and yet you feel suspended, like a stone mid-fall that forgot why it was falling. Around you, the passage glows faintly. Soft lines etched into stone breathe with light, not illumination. Memory. You touch them, and the pulse quickens. A sudden flood of scenes flashes across. Your mind, ceremonies, harvests, initiations, deaths, all performed with the masks, all ending the same way. One walks in, one doesn't walk out. You begin to wonder, how many have come before you? How many are still here? And then, as if summoned by the question, you enter a wide cavern. Circular, domed, a vast hall of silence. Lining the walls are thousands, tens of thousands, of masks. Each stares down at you with empty, painted eyes. Not displayed, not hung. They seem to hover, tethered to nothing. Some are cracked, some are pristine. All are waiting. You're not alone. Across the chamber, another figure stands, motionless, masked. They mirror you, same height, same mask, but not the same presence. You raise your hand. They raise theirs, a second behind, not a reflection, a memory. Then a second figure appears beside the first. Then a third, and slowly, one by one, a circle forms. Not of people, of roles, of echoes. This is the archive. The oral historians of the forgotten. Each mask represents a keeper of a story too dangerous or too sacred to be told aloud. But they can't be destroyed. They can only be preserved by becoming. You begin to hear the bell again, not outside. Within, your chest resonates and the air moves. One mask, directly across from you, begins to glow. It floats forward. It's unfinished, unpainted, waiting. The others recede into darkness. You know what it means. You are not being asked to wear it. You are being invited to finish it, to fill it with your story, with the pieces of your life before this moment. You try to recall your name. It slips through your fingers like dust. But you remember your first mask, the moment you touched it, the moment it touched you. You begin to paint. Every brushstroke feels both familiar and foreign. Saffron for the day you left, indigo for the night. You arrived, red for the fear you buried, white for the silence you embraced. When you're done, the mask glows softly in your hands. You hold it up to your face, and everything stops. Historians sometimes claim that certain African mask traditions were meant not to transform the wearer, but to remove them, temporarily replacing the individual with a vessel for ancestral memory. But they've never agreed on what happens when the ritual doesn't end. Some believe the masks become autonomous, entities in their own right. Some believe they're waiting to be reawakened. You now understand neither is wrong, because the mask is you, and it is also them. The others, the ones who painted, who preserved, who endured. You raise your head. The cavern is gone. You are back in the lighthouse. Only, it is not the same. Dust-free, silent, ageless. The bell is gone. You are the sound now. And somewhere far away, a traveler hears it ringing and begins walking toward the shore. You stand in the lighthouse, but it breathes now. Its walls expand and contract with a rhythm that isn't yours. Yet you match it unconsciously. Inhale. Exhale. Stone. Silence. You walk through it like a memory returned to life. But things have shifted. The spiral stairs you descended no longer lead upward. They vanish into the ceiling like a thread pulled tight. The room where you found the mask is empty now, save for one object on the floor, a mirror. You don't remember it being there before. You kneel. The glass doesn't show your reflection. It shows a shoreline, dark waves, a figure cloaked, dragging something heavy behind them. A sack, a bundle, a body. You blink and the scene is gone. Your hands tremble. You look again. This time, it shows a firelit village. Drums throb in the distance. Masked dancers leap and twist around a circle of elders. But their movements are strange, jerky, disjointed. Then you realize the firelight flickers, but casts no shadows. None of them are truly there, just reenactments, held in place, looping, repeating. You move your hand toward the glass, and the surface rises to meet it. Cold, then warm, then alive. The mirror breathes too. You hear voices now, fragments of tongues you don't recognize, snippets of prayers, chants, pleas. Some are singing to the gods, some are singing as the gods, some are just screaming. You back away, and the mirror darkens, but the voices follow. One phrase stands out. Paint us. You look down at your hands, empty, but they remember the brush. A door appears in the wall. To your left, you swear it wasn't there before. Rough-hewn wood, iron handle, a spiral carved into its center. You touch it. It doesn't open. It accepts you. The world shifts. You're no longer in the lighthouse. You're in the ritual. There are no clear lines between past, present, or story now. You see a young girl kneeling before her father, being handed a mask shaped like a hyena's face. A boy running through moonlight with a painted lion jaw clutched to his chest. An elder whose mask grows every year with antlers, feathers, and scars. You see yourself in all of them, and you see someone else, a figure watching from the edge of every scene, too still, too quiet. No mask, but not unseen. They nod once, slowly, and vanish into a grove of trees. You follow. Branches pull at you. Thorns kiss your skin, drawing lines. Not blood, but memory. And suddenly you're back in the lighthouse again. But this, time, it feels like the grove. Nature and stone have blended. Moss on the walls, roots through the floor. Above you, the bell hangs, but with no rope. It swings by itself. Slow, deliberate, calling, not to you, to the next. Historians still argue whether these rituals were ever meant to be performed or simply inhabited. But you now understand that masks are not put on. They arrive. They wait until someone looks too long into memory and forgets which face they began with. The lighthouse has no entrance anymore, no exit, because you are no longer within it. You are it. Your breath fuels the wind. Your thoughts ring. The bell, and somewhere far from the shore, a child finds a carved mask drifting in the tide. They lift it, and it fits. You stand still now, no longer walking, because walking implies movement, and movement implies escape. But escape no longer matters. You've accepted that much. The air inside the lighthouse has changed again. It smells like the earth after lightning, like something burned but not entirely consumed. There is no fire, yet everything feels scorched. The bell has stopped. The silence it leaves behind rings louder than the sound itself. You move toward the spiral staircase again, or what's left of it, chunks of stone steps suspended in the air, disjointed, floating like teeth knocked loose. You climb them anyway. Each step feels too real to be imagined. Cold, coarse, stable, yet the walls pulse with carved images that weren't there before. You run your fingers across one. It's you, wearing a mask of bark and bone. Another carving shows a different face, younger, maybe older. It's hard to tell. The mouth is open, not in speech, but in offering. A procession follows, etched shallow into the stone, people in masks walking backward toward a circle of fire that burns inward. The top of the stairs opens into the lantern room, but there's no glass, no lamp, only darkness framed by the absence of flame, and in the center, a pedestal. The mask rests there again, but now it's unfinished, only half carved. Smooth on one side, blank on the other, a face trying to become. It's waiting for you. You step forward, you pick it up. It's warm, flesh warm. The blank side begins to form beneath your fingers, not just your features, but your memories, your fears, your silences. It does not ask for permission. Some believe these masks were vessels for spirits, a way to preserve identity after death. Others believe they were trials, the wearer's soul measured by the mask's weight. You now understand. Both were true. The mask becomes heavy, in your hands, not with burden, but with presence. You feel every face that wore it before you. Some were children, some were warriors, some were neither. One was a scribe who buried his own name beneath the village shrine so it wouldn't be called at night. Another was a widow who danced into the forest wearing the face of her dead husband, and never returned. They are not stories. Now, they are parts of you. You place the mask to your face, not to wear it, to return it. It seals without touch, no straps, no seams, no resistance, and the world tilts. You are in the village again, but not in, underneath. An underground chamber, walls painted with pigments that shimmer as if still wet. Drums echo from above, but the rhythm is off. Not wrong, just older. A fire glows in a pit before you. Shapes move within it. Fluid, gesturing, murmuring. They do not speak a language. They become one. A woman steps from the flame. She is faceless. You understand instantly. She is the first. The origin. The one who carved the first mask when she needed to speak, but the world had no words for her. She holds out her hand. Not to give, to invite, and you take it. Together, you move through memory. Not yours, but everyone's. A continent's worth of dreams and echoes. Ceremonies lost to colonizers, to time, to silence. But they never vanished. They waited. You are not recording history now. You are restoring it. Historians still debate whether tribal masks were mere art, spiritual armor, or ancestral archives. But none have asked the masks, and the masks have never stopped answering. You ascend again, but the stairs don't spiral anymore. They unfurl like a scroll. At the top, no bell, only sky, only wind. You raise your arms. The mask's mouth opens, and the sound that leaves it is not your voice. It's all of theirs, and someone out there hears it. A child, far from here. They pause by a shoreline, head tilted, eyes wide. Something floats toward them, driftwood. No, carved, waiting. You descend into stillness, but not the stillness of sleep. This is older, heavier, a stillness that listens back. Your feet touch ground you can't see. It feels like sand, but hums like stone. And above you, stars pulse in ancient patterns. Some you recognize, others that once ruled skies forgotten by maps. You are not dreaming. You are remembering for someone else. Around you, a circle of watchers sits in silence. They wear no masks now, only shadow where faces used to be. Not hollow, not terrifying, just incomplete. They are waiting. One of them hands you a small bundle, wrapped in leather. Inside, a mask carved from ebony wood, painted in ochre and ash, its eyes gently shut. You recognize the style. It belongs to the Dogon people, perhaps, or the Pendi. Or maybe it's from a village lost when a river changed course, erasing every name from memory but one. Some believe these masks were gateways, each one a passage between seen and unseen, worn not to hide, but to become. Others insist they were warnings. Do not forget, do not erase, do not outlive your ancestors without their stories on your breath. You lift the mask and feel the wood shiver, not from cold, from awakening. There is one final rite, not written, not spoken, worn. You place the mask on the ground, and it stands, not by magic, but memory, not a trick, but truth. It begins to walk. You follow it through a forest of roots. The air smells of crushed leaves and old blood, not violence, but ceremony. The trees lean in, not to threaten, but to watch. At the forest's edge, you find the lighthouse again, but now it's reversed. The stairs spiral downward. You descend, into it. With every step, memories echo against the walls. Children laughing through carved holes in their masks, elders whispering stories beneath woven veils, dancers painting their faces with ash before dusk. Each footstep is a drumbeat, each drumbeat a heartbeat, each heartbeat a history. When you reach the bottom, there's no floor, just water, perfectly still. The mask floats before you. It speaks without voice. You came to understand, not to prove, not to own. You nod and step into the water. It does not drown you, it welcomes you. And in that final moment, beneath surface, beneath time, beneath story, you hear the bells, not from the lighthouse, from inside the earth. Some say African tribal masks are relics. Some say they are art. Some say they are lost. They are none of those things. They are waiting. They are watching. They are remembering you. The story drifts now, not to end, but to fade. You feel the air soften around. You, like the hush of a village at nightfall, when the fire's last glow flickers beneath carved walls and children begin to dream of faces that once danced in moonlight. Your breathing slows. The drums are distant now, more echo than sound, more memory than music. The mask lies beside you, not ominous, not alive, just there. A presence like the stars, silent, constant, unnoticed until you're ready to see them. The watchers have vanished. The lighthouse stands still. No more bells, only breeze, and, in that breeze, the softest whisper. Not a word, but a rhythm that reminds you, you were here. You walked through their stories. You carried them, not as weight, but as warmth. Your heartbeat returns to its own rhythm. Familiar, calm. You are back in your room now. Pillow beneath your head. Blanket gathered like earth around roots. The lights are low. The hum of the fan brushes your ears. Sleep does not arrive loudly. It arrives patiently. It circles you once, twice, then curls beside you like a tale finished only in dream. Outside, nothing knocks. Inside, nothing calls. You are still, and the masks watch from the shelves of memory, content.